Today I'll be showing you a bunch of my old artwork from when I was in school. I was in high school when we had an assignment. I think we were supposed to do like a landscape and like a monotone color, if I remember correctly. And I was so devastated when I came back to the artwork the next day after painting all this, and it ended up very streaky. I didn't know for years how I got the streakiness of it, and my teacher didn't even know. It turns out a couple years later when I actually did the same thing, that what I did was I probably put too much water into my acrylic paint and it separated. We had to do an acrylic still life. The teacher made us bring a couple different objects from my house in order to do still life with. So I brought a red panda keychain, a little dog, little like zoom type shape plushie that reminded me of one of my friends that he got me. I bought a Dr. Seuss book. That pink thing, I have no clue what that is. The purple thing, I also have no clue what that purple thing is. We had to do a surrealism drawing at this time, so I chose to do a face, a house, and a city on one. When I first did it, it did not rip on the side, but, you know, trying to stir this massive piece of paper, ended up getting a rip one day, which is sad. I mean, it's a cool concept. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's cool. I have no clue what we're doing that day, but here's another giant artwork I did in high school. I used some very interesting colors. I don't necessarily think they look the best anymore, but at the time, I thought they looked very cool. I'm pretty sure the assignment for this one was to do a person or object that was very monochrome, and you can only choose one color. We had to do a charcoal still life on newspaper. The objects were provided by the teacher, and each table had different objects. So we had a little like drawing mannequin, a square, a cup, and a book. I think we got to pick out the objects from like the set stuff she had out, if I remember correctly. We were working on like shading and like values and like 3D objects. I think for this one we were doing, you know, with, it's like that inverted colors, whatever that makes it look like a heat map basically. We'll have to use those colors for a portrait, and we could choose any portrait we wanted. So I ended up doing green and oranges, which I think the concept looks cool, and I might need to revisit sometime. Also, this was done with pastel. Basically learning how to draw the face. I don't remember whether this was a face I did on my own because the teacher had to draw at least one face in class on her own, or if this was when I was following her tutorial for a face. I don't remember, but it was done in graphite. Here is a printmaking piece that I do in high school. It's called Fish and Plastic. I had to do like 5 of these prints. We had to cut out linoleum and then make a print of it, which this was the second time I've ever done printmaking in my life. I learned from the first time that you do not want to do a detailed piece, so I did a piece that wasn't so detailed for my second time. I ended up not liking printmaking, and yes, it does kind of look like a dead fish, and that was not intentional. And honestly, I didn't really know what I was making when I was making it. It just kind of turned out to be like an eco-friendly, environmental, like, artwork piece. This I just did for fun. I just one day decided to do a bunch of lines and see what that looked like. Kind of looks like yarn or shoestring. Here's another piece I did for fun. It was just like a doodle. Yeah, I don't know where the stains came from, but It's supposed to be of a cat playing with like a donut cat toy. I used colored erasable pencils for this, and I erased a lot on the piece. Also, I have a tendency to be a little too heavy-handed, so it does. So like sometimes sketches and stuff don't erase as well as it would for someone with a lighter hand. But I decided to practice drawing animals, and I picked out a cat this time. I decided to do an abstract acrylic painting for fun. Basically, I just felt like using a brush. It was either a brush or a palette knife where you make like one stroke. And I decided to do it all monochrome, so it goes from the lightest color to the darkest color. It turned out pretty neat. Also, it's very like textured because the strokes are not smooth. I enjoy doing that painting so much that I decided to do another painting that's very similar with a lot more pinks than reds in it. And apparently I decided by the time I almost got finished with the painting that I was bored, so I stopped working on it and never came back to it. But still it's cool and still has a bunch of texture to it. I decided to use a colored pencil and do a kind of like doodly sketch abstract kind of piece. This I just drew because I wanted to. I was trying to work out a character idea for a character I had in mind. I was working on darker skin tones, and two, I was working on a character with like overalls and clothes and space and all kinds of stuff. I was working on hair, like style, to see if I could draw it well. And I used Crayola washable markers, so that's why it looks a bit streaky. But this was just like a concept kind of sketch. It was never meant to be the final piece. Here is one of the mini doodles I did on my notebook paper during class time when I was supposed to be, studying or doing math. I instead was doodling on a piece of paper. Here is half-inked face, because I was working on eyes and faces outside of school. Back in the day, I thought those eyes looked really good, but no. Nowadays, those eyes look terrible. I also think I was doing more like an anime-inspired eye, which I probably would not do today because my style does not lean anime at all. I don't know what I'm doing here, but there it is. It was either in junior high or middle school. My art teacher made us a little booklet that we had to sketch in, and we had to fill out by the end of the semester. So this was the cover I did, which was a person in graphite. I tried some really simple eyes, which I don't really care for. Every sketch had to be something different, so I did like a stuffed snake for the first one, and probably most of these are going to be in graphite. I did a lamp and a shoe, a color wheel, which for some reason the black, it was either like crayon or colored pencil smudged onto my color wheel. I don't know why. A vending machine, a stuffed rabbit. I was also working on perspective. Here are some colors I did, testing out different stuff. Here's a person I did, and again the colored crayons or colored pencils ended up coming off. I don't know why, because I've never had that happen on any other paper I've ever used, and this is just computer paper, and I use computer paper all the time. Here's a shaped circle. Here are some words on the page. Here's a pumpkin, which looks terrible, but I was laying shading. Here is some more words. I don't remember if we had to write stuff down in this book, if it was optional. Here is an abstract, small little sketch I did. Here's a chair. This is the first time I had tried to draw a chair. This is Pooh from Very Odd Parents, which that kid looks like it's wearing too much eyeliner. Here's some more words. There's a calculator, a soda. That is a school mascot, a mule, a computer, M&M, a computer. I don't even know what that is. I'm not even gonna pretend like I know what's going on there. Here is a landscape I did. Oh, I actually drew on the wrong side for this one. I did like a poem and then some fish. And some hearts. And then I did like a person. I think at some point I'd put off looking at the sketchbook so long that I just drew random stuff I could think of, so it would count. I did a perspective square, and then we had to do a perspective of a first name. And then I don't know what that is. And then there's perspective squares. And then I did a smiley face on the back of it. Apparently it was done 2015. And then this was a page that fell out. We were working on drawing humans. I think the teacher had us do this one in class. And we weren't supposed to make it look like a boy or a girl. It was supposed to be like gender neutral type of face. So that's why it looks a little bit creepy. I don't remember what's going on here, but I made this in class. I did Sailor Moon drawing. I think I did this during like an anime club session, because we were drawing anime characters. And no, I've never watched Sailor Moon, and I don't normally do fan art, but I did Sailor Moon because apparently that was the only character I could think of at the time. This drawing was probably during the same anime drawing session we had in anime club. This is supposed to be Light from Death Note, which I have watched Death Note and it's really good and I highly recommend Death Note. We were doing perspective drawing for a house, which the actual house I thought turned out pretty good. But for some reason I could not figure out the sidewalk, front porch, whatever you call it, in front of the I could not figure out how to do that perspective, so it looks a little bit wonky. And I tried and erased that so many times and just finally gave up and submitted the assignment. This is a doodle I did outside of school. I just did on an index card because I want to do something super small. And I did a bunch of animals. I had no reference for these animals. I was just doodling, and I happened to see animals, so I went with it. There's an elephant. I'm not sure what type of animal that is. There's a cat, and then there's a white cat. So there's a brown cat and a white cat. Gray elephant, and a darker gray. I don't know what type of animal that is. Maybe an anteater. We were having to do all kinds of different, things on the same piece of paper in a class I was in. This one might have been perspective, not sure what this one was, but I did a bunch of building. This one was color, so I made that one like a Russian building, so they're very colorful. This one was shape, so I did more abstract building. This one was foam, so I did more like an Indian style building. This one was shading and value, so I did much more of a, like, just random building on top of my head. The very, this is the lineup. The very, Middle Eastern, Russian, Indian type of style the most, but I also got capsules and houses you see in other parts of the world. This was a pattern, kind of reminds me of Egypt, some of the Egypt houses, because they're much flatter roofed. This one was contrast, so it looks pretty candy cane, pretty Christmas, but also kind of Russian because of the roof on top. This is balance. This was balance. This was movement, so I had to do a perspective, and it looks like honeycomb kind of structure. Rhythm, I was doing the Sydney Opera House, I think it was. Unity, kind of looks weird. And I did emphasis. I don't remember if we were having to do a famous artwork, or if we were all doing a bunch of squares or something, but I ended up doing that painting that has a bunch of squares and had primary colors and not all boxes are filled in. I ended up doing something inspired by that, and this ended up taking forever. I remember that I turned in this assignment late because I had made the boxes so small that it took forever to finish, but it turned out cool looking, and I did get a good grade on it. Here is a landscape I had to do with graphite, one of my classes that I took that was art. I had to do a landscape in graphite, which I don't particularly like doing landscapes. I think they're kind of boring and they're hard to do, especially trees. I have not cracked the code on how you draw a tree yet. I do not remember why I drew this. I'm not sure if it's part of an assignment that I had to do, or if it was just a random doodle I decided to do one day. But I do like the saying in it. An essential aspect of creativity is not being afraid to fail. Very good quote. One day I decided to draw a bunch of circles on a piece of paper and see how many different ways I could fill the circles while being different. So I did some faces, I did some abstract shapes, I did a bike, I did some flowers, a smiley face, I did some patterns, I did a cat. I also apparently never finished this because none of the circles are filled in. This was just a random blotter sheet. For some reason I saved it and I don't know why. I also used this to swatch out some colors to see if some pens were working. We had to do some pastel flowers. We were being taught how to blend and make flowers. These look honestly pretty cool. Here's a watercolor landscape you had to do for class. Even when I made this piece of artwork, I didn't really like how it turned out. I was just doing it because that was the assignment. I wasn't really happy about it. Because again, I don't like landscapes. I decided to do a doodle based on that square doodle painting that I showed you earlier. I decided to do that. And then towards the end of the drawing, I decided that I didn't want to do squares and rectangles anymore. So that's why there's a bunch of open boxes that have a tint of a green color in it. Because I said that's what I want to do instead. Because I didn't want to spend all that time drawing more tiny squares and more tiny rectangles. We were having to do perspective drawing in class on a notebook piece of paper. And apparently I didn't do so hot on that assignment because I got a lot of perspective off. But I was trying. Yeah, I do sun shapes too. For this assignment, we had to use a grid for a still life. I don't remember whether that was object the teacher had lying around or objects we had to bring to class. And then we had to monochrome colors all over it. And the grid was supposed to show in the final piece of artwork. Here's a doodle I did of some people in a hot air balloon with graphite. I don't think this was for a class assignment, but I could be wrong. I did just basically doodle the same shape all over the piece of paper with the same colored pen, and for some reason it smudged in one section, not sure why, but didn't smudge in the rest of the paper. This was just a doodle I did for fun. These were just some color, I was basically just trying to pick out some colors for this character I was thinking about drawing. So I played around with some colors with some small thumbnail sized version of the character. I never did end up doing anything with the character, but I might revisit it someday. Here's a doodle I did of an alien. I really did have a phase where I loved drawing their headwear, headdresses, what Muslims or Middle Eastern or people who like to cover their hair for religious reasons or for personal reasons or just because they want to do it reasons. Those type of headdress, how they look. I really had a phase of drawing them all the time on all my characters. I also use Crayola washable colored pencils. I also use Crayola washable markers, so that's why it looks streaky. We had to do an object in complementary colors, so I did very purples and yellows for this violin. This was for a assignment. I did this doodle for fun. I was working on drawing background because normally I don't really do a whole lot of perspective background, where you can tell characters in a room or at the mall, shopping, that kind of thing. Usually my backgrounds are very either non-existent or very abstract. For this, I just doodled. Basically what I did was I would color in a spot randomly, and then I would see what shape it turned out to look like, and then I do the outline last after I figure out what it looked like, and then that's how these little characters turned out. I did more of that coloring first, then doing outline method to make little characters. More perspective drawing I did for class. We had to use a drawing grid and draw a real person, do a portrait basically. I chose to do Katy Perry, and apparently I decided that I didn't want to complete the assignment and basically I didn't want to complete the assignment, put all my effort into it, so I basically just gave up and submitted it as is. So it did not look very good. In elementary school, we had to do a perspective drawing of, I don't know whether it was of a castle, but I chose to do a castle in the night, and that's how they turned out. I do a perspective drawing of a room for an assignment, and I did, I believe, a kitchen. I did in graphite. It turned out pretty good in some parts and a little bit wonky in other parts. But hey, it's been some of the perspective drawings I've done. we had to do a color wheel and turn each color into a shape, so it could not be a boring color wheel. So I chose to do superheroes because I chose to do superheroes because I was obsessed with superheroes back in high school. I don't know why all those marks on my color now. That's a mystery. And I use, I believe, either acrylic or watercolor to do the actual colors. Here's another random doodle that I did during class when I was supposed to be, doing my assignment. Probably like math or like grammar or like English or something. It's just very abstract. I just felt like drawing a whole bunch of like boxes, basically. Here's another random doodle I did. I'm pretty sure this is from math class because the math equation up there. In school, especially like middle school, junior high time period, I especially love doing like side portraits of characters' faces. I found them very easy, so I did a lot of them. Here's another side face portrait that I did probably in the middle class. Here is a full body drawing I did. I said do like a dancer in like a fancy like dance outfit basically, and I was doing a new hairstyle, working on my clothes, and I did it in graphite. Also, I did a new way to draw feet, which I've never used again, and I don't know why I haven't used it again because it kind of looks cool. I decided to draw clothes so its perspective doesn't look very good because it's not on our body. Decided to draw a fancy little house. I was working on a face and decided to just not finish it for whatever reason. Here's a random doodle I did. I decided to draw a hook. I decided to do a piece of acrylic paint that was very textured, and that'd be like the interesting part of the painting. I don't know if you can tell. How much texture is on the painting, but hopefully you can. I was just playing around with using like a spoon and a fork and a knife, for example. Seeing what all that could do. I don't know what the assignment was, but I did it very Walt Disney themed. So I did Mickey Mouse, I did the Epcot, and then I did Baymax. I've been to Walt Disney before, and I do like that the colors are very purple and orange. I used acrylic paint. Here's another abstract doodle I did. Here's another side profile base I did. Here's a random doodle I did. Here's some fruits I had to draw for an assignment and do like shading and value with. I think it's an apple, a pear, and an orange. Or maybe a peach. Here's another face doodle I did. This was a print for my very first time printmaking. I tried to do a cover of a Melanie Martinez. This is the very first printmaking print I have. I tried to do a picture of I tried to do Melanie Martinez's album Crybaby. I think it's Crybaby. And the print didn't turn out very good because the album cover was too detailed. I was really obsessed with Melanie Martinez back in the day when I was in high school. That's why I did the cover of one of her albums. Yeah, I would not recommend doing something that detailed for a print. Here is the last picture I'm going to show for the day. This is a perspective drawing of a room. Comment down below if this video gets to 20 likes. I'll do another sketchbook tour / showing my old artwork video. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below if you enjoyed the video watching and want to see more art related videos.